welcome back to Career Goals. Today I'm joined by co-founder of Carma, Jim Holland. How are you today, Jim?
I'm very well, thanks, Kelsey. How are you?
Good, thanks. Was it okay getting into Manchester today?
It was an early start. Got up at 5 o'clock this morning and trundled up the M34, M40, M5 and M6, but delighted to be here in sunny Manchester.
I know, sunny as always. Just for the viewers, can you just briefly talk about what Carma is?
So Carma, short for Carbon Karma, and we make social and environmental impact accessible to everyone, and we do that by planting trees. In the UK, we employ veterans in the Green Task Force, providing them with positive pathways to employment, and overseas we work with some of the most impoverished communities in the world, helping them with social mobility and sustainability. Can
you talk a bit more about how you started up Carma and what made you think of the idea?
Yeah, of course. So I'm from a little town in Barnsley in South Yorkshire, and I maintain the best decision I ever made was leaving Barnsley and joining the Royal Navy at the tender age of 17. Got on a train, went down to Plymouth, spent 13 wonderful years in the Royal Navy. I was in the first Gulf War in 1991, played a lot of rugby, did Brickwoods field gun 4 times, loved it. Unfortunately, I got injured playing rugby and medically discharged from the Navy when I was 30 years old. At that point, I made the worst decision in my life and went back to Barnsley. And I'd got a degree in computing, a HND in electrical and electronic engineering. But when you leave the armed forces, you lose 3 things overnight: your forces family, your purpose and your identity. And if you don't compensate for those 3 things quite quickly, your mental health can go downhill, because when you're in the forces, everything's prescribed for you: where to be, what to wear, how to act. You're trained to within an inch of your life. And without that kind of structure, you can struggle. I was very fortunate. One of my friends rang me up. He said, "How are you getting on?" I said, "I'm really struggling, can't get a job, can't afford my mortgage." He said, "You're joking, you're the best qualified out of all of us." He said, "Well, look, I'm at Vodafone in Newbury." He said, "Why don't you send me a CV?" He said, "We're a team of Unix engineers. My boss is employing. I'll share it with him." He said, "Do a bit of research." I went, "Okay." So I sent him my CV. Next minute, the phone goes. "Hi, it's Mike O'Connor from Vodafone. I've just got your CV. Looks great. I'm employing a Unix engineer. What do you know about Unix?" I said, "Well, I've just Googled it. There's 48 commands. How hard can it be?" And he started laughing. He said, "That's brilliant. Didn't expect that answer. Can you come for an interview?" And that was my resettlement. Massive company, clear vision, clear mission, clear objectives. I got that structure. I got that identity and the purpose. And when I left that team, I was at Vodafone 8 years. When I left that team 18 months later, I still knew nothing about Unix. I didn't think I'd ever leave Vodafone. Met my wife, Sally, there. We've now got 4 girls, so Vodafone's got lots to answer for. But I got headhunted and went up to Sky. I was head of quality and compliance and then head of sales at Sky. Left Sky and went to Stansted Airport, part of the Manchester Airport Group. I was head of commercial, and everything was going great. I joined the airport to grow the airport from 25 million passengers to 33 over 5 years. I was 3 years into that plan, and then COVID hit. And we were flying 100,000 passengers a day, which went down to 12, not 12,000, but 12 passengers overnight. And I was very quickly furloughed and then made redundant September 2020. But I used the furlough time really wisely. And during that process, I've reconnected with the captain of the rugby league team when I played, a guy called Dr. Andy Steele, the Ginger Prince, as I call him. And Andy, when he'd left the Royal Navy 18 years ago, he moved out to Bangkok and started the Plant a Tree Today Foundation. And over the last 18 years, Andy's planted 3.5 million trees. And we're on one of these Zoom calls, which became all the rage during COVID, didn't they? You're talking to people with a blurred background. I said, "So what are you doing?" He said, "Well, don't worry." I said, "I'm still planting trees." He said, "But you won't know this, Jim." He said, "I've started a company called the Green Task Force." He said, and the Green Task Force is made up of veterans and service leavers. He said, "But you won't know that 10% of veterans leave the armed forces and don't get employment straight away. And a further 15% need a hand up." He said, "Not a hand out, but a hand up within 2 years." I said, "That's interesting. Why wouldn't I know that?" He said, "Well, look at you, you've done all right." I said, mate, I really struggled. He said, really? I said, yeah. It took me 4 years to get over leaving the Navy and get on my own 2 feet. He said, you're going to love this. He said, some of the guys have got PTSD and we treat them through nature-based therapy. Everyone gets a vocational qualification in horticulture. Some go on to be qualified arborists. He said, and then we work with recruitment companies to get them back on the employment ladder once they've got an emotional and a physical backstop. And I went, mate, that is epic. I said, how can I help? I said, I love that. And he said, well, you can't plant trees, Lofty. I was there when you got injured. I said, well, I wasn't thinking about planting trees. How can I help you and your new business? And he said, well, the more trees we plant, the more veterans we can help. I went, right then, I'm going to go away and set up a business that gets you loads of trees to plant.
All right, so you set it in response to what he was doing?
He's my supplier. So I went away and I had to think. I looked at what was available on the market, what wasn't available on the market, and thought, right, I'm going to create a business that makes social and environmental impact available to everyone. So our product offering is threefold. We do corporate tree planting days. So you could bring your team on a corporate tree planting day, put 1,000 trees in the ground, connect with each other, connect with nature, work with veterans, and have an amazing story to tell. We've also got a product we call tree commerce. So every product or service you sell, we can plant a tree. We've got subscriptions where every month we'll plant trees on your behalf. And all this you can demonstrate the impact you're having through the Karma Impact Dashboard. So it's a really good thing to do. It's great to win new business, demonstrate your impact, delight your clients, delight your customers, and we absolutely love it.
God, it is amazing. So how did you, because obviously like you've just explained how you kind of got to that decision of starting the business, but how did you think of that idea, like with say like the corporate one and because you have like that subscription service, is that
if you think about my career, my corporate career, I'd worked at Vodafone and Sky, which were subscription-based services. So I understood that market, and that's where it started. I'm thinking, right, if I can get people planting trees for the price of a pint, $3.99 every month, get thousands of people doing it, you can make a massive impact. And I thought, well, when we're planting these trees, we've got the opportunity to get people to come out and plant trees with us, charge them for that. And then I thought, well, also, why not plant a tree for every sale? Give a little bit back to people and planet. And I tested the market, and people just like absolutely loved it. And won some big business really early on. Starbucks, CBRE, Yodel, massive companies just love working with us.
I'm going to jump straight in with a game of Never Have I Ever. Have you ever played that before?
I've not, but I can't wait to.
The rules of the game, essentially, I'm going to read out a statement. If you have, you just show I have and explain. If you haven't, I haven't, yeah? Never have I ever fallen out with my business partner. You haven't?
I haven't.
Okay, so are you usually easy to get on with?
With two very diametrically opposed characters. Ian is very calm, measured, collected, logical, whereas I'm very flamboyant, shoot from the hip. Anything I hit, I call a target. And we clash from time to time, but we always clash in a good way. The level of challenge is healthy, and we sometimes, it might get to late in an evening and we hit an impasse, and we'll say, tell you what, we'll sleep on it and we'll pick up in the morning. But there's never any ill feeling, we've never fallen out, and it's a really solid working relationship, and it works. And sometimes I wake up in the morning and think, do you know what, he was right. And sometimes I'll think, I was right, and we'll have the conversation, and it always works out.
God, yeah, no, it's always healthy that, like, in a way, like, sometimes opposites do attract, don't they? Like, you balance each other out. So I think if you was too similar, you probably would clash more.
We would.
Never have I ever lost the passion for what I do. No, after speaking to you, I've spoken to you prior, and you're really passionate about what you do, which is a good thing because you're doing good stuff. But can you expand a bit more on that?
About what I do, or why I've never lost my passion?
Why you've never lost your passion?
I've not lost my passion because Karma's all about doing good together. We partner with individuals and businesses to make an impact in the world. We plant trees, we give people social mobility, and we help the environment. if you can't get passionate about that every time you get out of bed to make a difference, what can you get passionate about?
Yeah, exactly. It's a feel-good job.
Oh, very much so. And everyone that works with us, on for us, loves what they do. So it's a great place to work.
Oh, and the last one is, never have I ever fallen for a financial scam.
Yeah, I have fallen for a financial scam, but obviously unwittingly. But I've signed up to products. There's one I'm thinking of particularly at the minute. I'm not going to call it out, but it was a subscription. I got the first year free, and I didn't cancel it. So then the renewal came, and it was $525, which was taken out of my bank, and I had to sort of escalate that quickly to say I didn't really want this. At which point they came back with all the features and benefits, and I thought, do you know what, they are good, but I still don't want it. So I said, look, I'm sorry, I didn't realise what I'd signed up to. How far can we go with this? They offered me such an amazing discount. They knocked $300 off, so it was $225, which equates to about £180. So I'm still with that company. I'm still reaping the benefits. I'm stopping at the Hilton in Hull next week, and I'll be upgraded twice because of it. So it's not all bad. It's not always bad. Look for the positives.
I don't know if that's the message that we're trying to like convey on here, but yeah, that's good. So it's not.
I'm a really positive person, Kelsey. Come on.
I know, yeah, that's so I guess that's a good outlook on life.
Yes. I can think of a bad one.
Yeah, okay, bad one for balance. Yeah, so the fall for financial scams, it's not all bad.
Yeah. Okay, so I once fell for a financial scam. Again, it was a subscription-based service. I used it. I did pay for the first year. It was £300, and didn't really work out for me as a platform. It was a software company to connect me with other with investors. I used it. It was a very high school project. Didn't work out for me at all. And all of a sudden I got an email saying if I'd like to renew, they would give me 20% discount. So it was down to £240. I'm thinking, I wouldn't like to renew. I'm not really interested. All of a sudden, that £240 was taken out of my bank account. And I'm like, oh, wow, this isn't good. So again, I escalated. Fortunately, I knew someone who was an investor in the company, sent him the emails that I'd got, said, look, I'm really not happy with this. It's not good. What do you think? I've got this email. It looked like I could choose to renew. I wasn't going to auto-renew. And he went, that's not good. Fortunately, I got a full refund, and I'm not on that platform anymore.
Well, so that's a good story. And the importance of networking, because you knew one of the investors.
Exactly. Now, I don't know how much he owned of the company, but he did say, I was on a startup WhatsApp group, and I just mentioned it on there, and he just jumped to my help and said, look, I'm an investor in this company, I can help you out here. So I gave him all the information, important to keep that, and told him the story, and he said, yeah. So I got a full refund, and I'm not with him anymore.
Yeah, because obviously for people that are at home studying at Kaplan, they might want to have their own business or work for a larger business in finance. Do you have tips on how they can be more environmentally aware?
Absolutely. Well, one of the guiding principles about Carma was to make it accessible to everyone. So you can make climate impact from the palm of your hand. You can get your smartphone out, your tablet, or if you're a dinosaur like me, your laptop, your computer, and you can just sign up to a Carma plan and start having trees planted on your behalf. And for a business, we love to even dive deeper into that business to understand what their objectives, whether it's to win new customers, to retain new customers, and devise ways of using green incentives to make that happen. So we've made the business fit into other business models. It's all about outcomes, and we will work with anyone to get the desired outcome. Of course, the desired outcome on a global scale is to get more trees into the ground, to make a bigger impact, and through our dashboard, be able to demonstrate that in terms of trees planted, social impact, work days created, and of course, when you put a tree in the ground, 3 wonderful things happen. 1, you employ someone to do it, giving them social mobility. 2, you get net biodiversity gain. And finally, over time, that tree absorbs CO2 and breathes out oxygen. So it's a complete winner.
Obviously, there's that stereotype that people that are working in finance or with money might not necessarily be very like green. So how would you challenge that? Like, how do you think that finance professionals can be greener? I know you've just explained like ways in which, but the importance of working in finance and being green.
Well, it's really important. Of course, people who work in finance, they've got a real sharp overview of how the business is performing, right down to the bottom line, and everyone's managing that bottom line on the spreadsheet. Well, that's where you can have the most impact. Sometimes it's a finance team that are the blockers to the stuff we're doing, because they say, what happens if we don't do this? There's another way to look at it. What happens if we do it? Everyone wins. You can win more business by telling everyone about your green credentials, what you're doing in the ESG space, which is increasingly more important when you're winning business to the clients you're trying to onboard. The people that work in your company, they're looking to the leadership within the company to see if they are making a difference, so it can help you with employee retention. Some companies go as far as to give our products as an employee benefit, which is an absolutely wonderful thing to do, and it's definitely making an impact in the employee retention space.
Yeah, I know, and that's a really big issue. Like at the minute, like when I'm researching pain points of employers, retention is like it's a really big issue at the minute. So anything that can help with that is a positive anyway.
It's one of the things that we say. We are a low cost, high impact solution. We're almost a plug and play ESG solution, and love to get involved with businesses. Finance industry loves us. We work with some that we met at the same place that we got in touch at the Accountex in Manchester.
You have just mentioned ESG a couple of times. We do actually have a certificate course and in-house training, but do you mind telling people at home a little bit an overview of what ESG is, just for anyone that doesn't know?
So ESG, so environmental and social governance, it's a way that a company can demonstrate the impact it's having on the environment and society, and you know, we do both things. We plant trees, which of course is the environment, and society, we employ people to plant trees. And we are a B Corp. I don't know if you've heard of B Corp. So it's all about people, planet and profit. So we make sure that our people are working in an absolutely fantastic environment. They're all vested in what we're doing. Planet, we're sustainable, we reduce, we reuse, we recycle. And of course, we're the fourth R, we also replant. So we're the highest scoring B Corp in our sector in the UK. We're extremely proud of that. We only got that 2 months ago, but we were really bending the needle because of all the land and wildlife conservation we do as a company.
Just last question before we move on to industry myths. Because I know that a lot of companies do say like, oh, we'll plant trees for every sale and stuff. Can you explain like the actual process, like where they are, and kind of do you have like, or aside from like the corporate stuff with the veterans planting them, do you have like specific days? Is it every day? I don't know, what's the reality behind planting the tree?
So yeah, that's a great question. Tree planting. So tree planting has a season in the UK. It runs from October to March because it's very dry here in the summer, and to give the tree the maximum opportunity to reach maturity, we plant when it's wet and a tree lays dormant. All the activity in a tree through the winter months is in the root ball, and the sap sinks to the root ball. In the summer months it comes up and obviously that manifests in the form of leaves. Our trees in the UK, they're planted by the Green Task Force. We know where every single tree is planted. I'm there invariably for a lot of the tree planting. I'm planting 4,000 trees in Hull next week. Really looking forward to that, sunny Hull. Hoping we're going to have a great time. Our overseas trees are planted by a company called Veritree, which is short for verified trees. And so it does what it says on the tin. Every single tree is blockchain encrypted. It can't be sold twice. And the tree planters have all got smartphones. They've got smartphones for two reasons. Firstly, they get paid on the smartphone, so we know the right people are getting paid for planting the trees. Secondly, because they've got smartphones, we've got the footprint of where every single tree is. They take photographs, and over the tree's lifetime, we can build up a real rich data set about that tree, make sure it's still there, it's growing, it's flourishing.
So are they like protected, like no one can chop them down or anything?
No one can chop them down. The tree will reach full maturity. Overseas, the mangroves, to 25 years. In the UK, every time we plant, there's a landowner's covenant, which means the trees are there for at least 20 years, but they will grow. A lot of people are giving their land back to reforestation and afforestation, so those trees will have a long, long life, longer than mine.
So we're going to move over to industry myths now.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'll read a statement out, and you just let me know whether you think it's a myth or true. It's not, there's no right answer, it's your opinion. And we'll just discuss from there. So the first statement is, only large investors can make a difference in sustainability.
Myth.
Do you want to expand how smaller investors can?
Yeah, and this is why we built the platform. Thousands, millions of people doing one small thing can lead to a massive global event. So for as little as $3.99 a month, we thought lots of people can join our platform and make a big difference. 1 million people spending $3.99 a month could have a lot bigger impact than a large corporate spending 20, 30 grand a month.
Yeah.
So you might think you've landed a big fish, but it's all about collective impact and incrementality.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like $3.99, that's less than a coffee these days as well.
Exactly.
And how much do big coffee shops have a month? So, no, that is a really good point. The next one is green finance is a passing trend.
Myth. Yeah, I think sustainability it's got to become a way of life. We've got to embed it into all of our lifestyles and processes, whether that's at home or at work. I've already mentioned we need to reduce, reuse, recycle. We need to cut down as much waste in companies as what we possibly can. I didn't realise until 6 months ago that food waste is the #1 contributor to climate change. So that's something, the more you're aware of stuff, the more conscious you are, the more you can make changes to your lifestyle to make sure you're reducing your own personal impact, and you can bring that into your work life. Even it's just as simple as telling other people little facts like that,
Yeah.
so they can adjust. And again, a lot of people doing things a little bit different can have a huge impact.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was watching a webinar the other day about ESG, and the speaker was saying that the importance of actually actively implementing that in your, say, business strategy or in your everyday life. Like, it's okay saying that you're going to be environmentally friendly, but it's important now more than ever to apply it to your everyday role. So, last one, not every business can afford to engage in sustainability.
Myth. Yeah, every business can afford it. Like I've already said, it's low cost, high impact. And sustainability, let's face it, the easiest thing you can do is recycle.
Yeah.
So get yourself a recycling bin if you haven't got one. There you are, straight away you're having impact. What's it cost you? Absolutely nothing. The council will give you a recycling bin. Again, food waste. Don't order too much food, order the right amount. If you do order too much, reuse it. So there's lots of things. Reduce the amount, recycle, and just measure what you're doing, and you can quickly, once you've measured, you can take action to reduce.
So obviously you've planted all these trees, you're still planting them now, but what do you think we can expect in the future with ESG, and how finance can play a role in that?
Finance obviously plays a pivotal role in every business because they hold the purse strings. They have the power of veto to say yes or no. And what companies will be doing moving forward, ESG is the new health and safety. 25 years ago, health and safety was optional. And when you were going out and trying to win new businesses through tender, there was a little box that said, what are you doing in the health and safety arena? Some people say, well, we wear hard hats, we wear PPE, but you didn't have to. It will become legislation. I know it's been put the mockers on by the current government that we won't be hitting the targets by 2030, but ESG will become written into legislation. But people can steal a march now, start building it into the business processes, start budgeting for it, start making a difference, and it will be those companies that do the best because they're on the front foot, they're ready to tackle ESG, and they know what they're doing, and they've already started making impact.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Have you had a good time on this set?
It's been absolutely wonderful, Kelsey. Really enjoyed it. I'm really relaxed. I've nearly finished all my water, and thank you ever so much for having me.
Amazing. So before we let you go, we always ask our guests the last question, which is, what is career goals to you?
Career goals to me? Well, I've had such an eclectic career, from joining the Royal Navy as a young man, learning all about the world, more importantly learning all about myself, my limitations, what I am good at, what I'm not good at. Then obviously in my corporate career, knowing how to play to my strengths and get other people to cover my weaknesses up. So what would be a logical next step for me? I love what I'm doing so much. Some of the best days in my life have been out planting trees with veterans and corporates. So I want that to continue for the rest of my life. At some point in my life, I hope we can get a generation of bright young things into Run Karma, which will give me the headspace to go out and plant more trees, make a difference, and put smiles on people's faces.
Oh, that's amazing. I really love your outlook on life. Like, you always, how do you stay so optimistic?
I've always had a rapacious appetite for life. I love being here. I like making an impact. I love working with people. And when every job I used to go into in a corporate, people say, why are you so enthusiastic? The novelty will wear off. And I'm thinking, no, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, you're not doing it well. And I've just maintained that attitude throughout my career. And it's what's made me flourish, I suppose, and shine.
So for people who want to get involved, where can they go to find out more about you and Karma?
We're on all the socials, so just look in Karma, that's Karma with a C. And of course we've got a website, www.karma.earth. And you can come and sign up for one of our plans, start making an impact, start feeling good, because doing good makes you feel good.
Amazing. So if you're interested in learning more about how to make environmentally conscious decisions, you can browse our ESG courses on kaplan.co.uk, and remember to like, comment and subscribe to our YouTube channels to keep updated with more episodes. Thank you, and we'll see you again soon.